Welcome to I Found This Great Book. My name is Curtis, and so today, folks, I came across a book. The title of the book is Dead, Dead Girls by Nekesa Afia. But here's what made me say I have to read this book. First of all, it's set in the 1920s in the Harlem Renaissance, and I'm a big fan of the Harlem Renaissance. And it was this mystery with this really cool central character. And I saw that and I said, check, gotta read it. And now we have the honor to speak with the author of Dead, Dead Girls, Nekesa Afia. Nekesa, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fantastic. Really, really happy that we can talk and just discuss this really great book you did. And I'm really excited. I'm going to be one of those readers that starts bugging you about when's the next one. So, I'm really, really excited. So Dead, Dead Girls is set almost 100 years ago in Harlem, New York, at the birth of the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah.
Why did you pick that time period for a Black woman to be a sleuth during that time period?
Okay, well, first, it's not been a great time to be a Black woman, basically, in any era, but I said in my author's note that I could have said Dead Dead Girls in the 2016, 2017 when I was writing it, but I didn't, because I like the Prohibition era better, and that's what it's down to. The Prohibition era is just more fun, but racism has stayed the same, like, basically everything has stayed the same, we just listen to different music and wear different clothes. So, yeah, I just like the Prohibition era, and that would be it.
So how did you go about researching it? Because you really make it real. How did you go about setting that world and building that world so the reader can get back there?
Yeah, I took my research pretty important. I was in a history class that studied the late 1800s in London and the Prohibition era, and the 1920s in Canada. So I was writing an essay on the Prohibition era for that class, and we have a great library, the reference library here in Toronto. So I spent a lot of time in the stacks, just reading about the Prohibition era. But also a lot more research comes into play. You have to figure out what your character would wear, what she would eat, what she would drink, where she could work, where she could live. Basically everything that we do on a daily basis that we take for granted because it's just what we do. I had to figure it out. So it was a lot of research, but it was research I really love to do because I really like to get into the small minutia of what Louise would wear today for work, and then what would she wear dancing, things like that.
Yeah. And so let's talk about Louise Lloyd. So she is a very, very fascinating character. How did you come about creating her?
I always say that I didn't create her. She sprung from my mind fully formed as a tiny human with all these thoughts and all these opinions and all these things she wanted to do. So I've just been kind of tailoring the story around her type thing. I didn't have to do any work. She I literally just came up with her one day.
Yeah, and she's an amazing young woman. She survives early in the story, the first chapter of the story. You hear about this trauma, this assault that Louise survives. Not only that, but she becomes the hero. And then you deal with that, her dealing with that trauma all the way through. I'm fascinated by how you made it real, but then you didn't sensationalize the trauma, but you really captured her dealing with that. Can you talk some more about why you picked that in quality in Louise?
Yeah, so I wanted to have something in the story that would draw her to this case that wasn't just her being extorted, because she's really just extorted. But so her going through something at the beginning shows that she really cares, she would really care about other people, and she want to keep them safe, especially other young girls. She's just not down for people being mean to other girls. She's not down for that. So I think that that formative experience in her teens really built that for her. And yeah, she also has a really strange sense of justice, which I wanted to make clear as well. She has a very strange set of morals and a weird moral compass. But yeah. She has all these rules.
Yeah. There's a sense of suspense constantly. You're constantly worried about the safety of Louise because she's not only a person who's been thrust into having to become a sleuth about a very dangerous thing about young Black women who are being murdered, but she's she's a woman who loves a woman in a time period where that was totally unacceptable.
Yeah.
She's a Black woman in the 20s when opportunities and safety of Black women were severely risky. You bring all those things together. Can you discuss a little more about how you balance all that and keep the reader on edge?
So the thing is that like I knew that the story would be like full of like just Black trauma, which I don't love to read. I don't think any other Black reader wants to read because like why is there so much trauma? So I really wanted to put like moments of Black joy in there too. So she has a girlfriend who she loves. She has sisters who she loves. She gets to go dancing like every night, which she loves. I think it's just like the balance of like her real life with the case, and like that's kind of mirrored in a way, I think. Yeah, she really just wants to vibe, but she can't really just vibe. She has to solve a case.
Yeah. Like you said, it's not just trauma for the sake of trauma. There are things that happen that propel her, but you build this world around her of all these people who love her that support her. And like you said, there's these opportunities for happiness in her life. So people might have a perception of the 1920s. What things do you think your book is going to illuminate, change their mind in terms of life for Black people in Harlem in the 1920s?
So I really feel like the 1920s, it's a decade I love, but it's been really super romanticized because of white contemporary writers like Fitzgerald. What Dead Girls will show is like what real life was like in the 1920s, or like what realer life was like for the 1920s. And like not just for like straight white men, for like Black people and Latinas and it's there's definitely like different like lives. Like sure, Fitzgerald's class is partying every night because that's what they could do, but Lou has to like get up and go to work and then like find a place to like keep her money in her little room because she can't have a bank account because it's the 1920s. And then she can dancing. And it's just like there are very different circumstances, and I was trying to show that very different circumstances.
Yeah, because it wasn't just the roaring 20s and
Yeah,
people swinging beads and having parties every night.
It's like white women got the vote like in 1919. I should Google that. Like yeah, so like women got the vote in 1919, but actually it was almost only white women. Black women couldn't vote till the 60s, and then like Native American women I think couldn't vote till like the 1980s. So like there's a huge like discrepancy. It's just like so different for like all these races, but people are like, oh, the 1920s were so fun. Actually, it's only fun for white people.
You layer so much in the story. Can you talk about the challenge Louise had? She had an incident, and I want everyone to read it, but again, you're going to hit the first chapter, you're going to read that, and you're going to go, wow, she's tough. and then you're going to want to keep reading. But something happens, and she has to step up, and she becomes a hero. But then she battles with that notoriety. Can you talk about how you interweave that in the story?
Yeah, I tried to like make it like she's totally anonymous. She like doesn't want this life. She like doesn't want to be like seen or perceived or remembered type thing. So there's that. But I thought I was like kind of like realistic because like she did like this huge thing, and then people are like, oh my god, it's Louise Lloyd. And then like a decade later, she's just like a person who breaks the law constantly and works at a cafe. She didn't really live up to like the standards, I guess, that people like had for her. She didn't live up to people's expectations. Like I wanted to show that people that we're really just like human. And yeah, we're just human, and she's allowed to like make mistakes, and she's allowed to like be who she wants to be, and not like what this random member of the public thinks she should be because they read about her in the newspaper.
And it's just going to get harder for her because she just keeps doing amazing things, and
yeah, right. She keeps solving crime, and then she's like, I don't want this, and then there's like another crime, she's like, okay fine, I'll solve this crime, and then nobody bother me, and then there's another crime, she's like, fine.
But we see that same thing happens today, and that was during a time you didn't have social media, but you had these tight communities where people knew each other. But now it's kind of the same. You could do something and then get known in a virtual community, and even when you want to be left alone.
Yeah. And she like just does not want to be seen by anyone. She like just doesn't want to be remembered that way because like it's not who she was. And she keeps saying that like, oh, anyone else would have done the same thing. Where I do think that's true, but like I don't think people around her think that's true. She just really wants to dance and kiss her girlfriend, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that she just is trying to do that, and then like this case is she's basically just forced to solve this case. She's not a fan of it, but she will do it to protect the girls.
Mm-hmm. Where does Louise get her courage from I mean, she dives into some stuff that most people would just shake their head and walk the other way. Where does she get that courage?
I think, oh, that's a good question. 'Cause I want to say she's just like born like that, but I don't think that's true. I think she knows that like if she doesn't do something, like things won't change.
Mm.
So like if she doesn't stand up for herself, if she doesn't stand up for other people, if she wants to like make this world better for her and like for other girls and other Black people, like she's got to like make that change. Like so she just has to like maybe she's scared a little. She's definitely scared a little. And she will still do it because like that's the only way things are gonna change. She's just high key tired of the world she's living in, of like white people being like super. She's just so tired of like the place she's in and like where she's been set. Like she just wants to change it, and I think that comes through a lot.
Yeah, and I find this time fascinating too because Louise's generation would have been like the first real generation that isn't directly touched by slavery. You know, slavery ended in the 1860s, and so you had the people who were alive and in it, and then people who were born and their immediate parents probably were directly affected, and now you have Louise's generation that their fathers and mothers probably were not involved in slavery. So there's a sense of, hey, there's this whole big world. The United States was like, hey, we're growing, we're changing, technology is happening. And you see on one side that all this great stuff is happening and is promised, but then you have this oppression, open, blatant oppression. And how does that must be maddening for Louise.
Yeah. Like her like grandparents, I think I've not really sat down to do like the family tree. But Louise was born in 1900, so it's totally fair that like her grandparents would have been slaves, and then like her father would be like directly like a direct descendant from slavery, like she is.
Mm-hmm.
I think just even like thinking of like the background of the history as well to me, but she just wants to make a change. Like the life she like has seen like set out for her is not what she wants.
Mm-hmm.
And she's gonna like try to do what she wants to do, and I love her. And she just is like she's like wary of other people, and like she just wants things to be better, not just for herself but for her family, like they're Black people. And like seeing like white people with these massive amounts of like privilege, even like slight amounts of privilege, is like better than like what she could ever have had or like, ever to like have hoped to have. So there's that.
Mm-hmm. So if, let's say there was no case going on at the moment and we were to magically be able to follow Louise around, what would her day be like if she could just have some peace?
If she could just have some peace. Okay. So I'm assuming this is a work day. So she'd have to like get up, like go to work. She walks with her girlfriend, Rosemaria, to the station, to like the subway station, and then the cafe where she works at. And then she spends her day at work, serving coffee and like little baked treats. And then she goes home. She has dinner with like her housemates. And then she'll pretend to go to bed for a couple hours, but she'll actually be changing and like trying to like choose a dress because she has to go dancing because it's Friday. And then she like climbs out of the trellis she like climbs out of her room, like down the trellis on the wall, and like goes dancing. Like she'll like hail a cab and go to the Zodiac, which is like my favorite place in the world, even though it's fictional. And yeah, she just gets to like vibe and like kiss her girlfriend a little. Like Louise's perfect day would have zero responsibility. Like she could sleep all day and then go dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, she does have to go to work.
Right. And that's so cool that you have all these things the world she wants to have, and then there's this dangerous world that keeps pushing in, and she just can't turn her back to it. She can't just ignore it. She has to step in and protect people who can't protect themselves.
Yeah, like the thing about like any story is like you have to like give your main character something they want, and then they put a bunch of obstacles in their way. So for Louise, the obstacle is just a whole ass murder case.
Yeah, and it is an obstacle.
And she's like, at the beginning, she's like, maybe if I just like find a clue, they'll let me go and I could just go back to my life. Unfortunately, that's not true.
But she ends up becoming this person who's, if she didn't do it, if she didn't solve it, there would be a lot more dead young ladies in Harlem.
And like she knows that like it could have been like her or one of her sisters. And like that really like rings true for her, that she's like, I'll do it, but only to keep my sister safe. She has like twin 16-year-old sisters. Her like they've not grown up the way she wants, I think, but like she like just wants them to be happy and like wants them to be safe, and like that's a major driving factor of her motivation. Like just like being able to like give her sisters like whatever they want, and like the freedom to be able to choose was really important. And she tries.
She does. You mentioned the Zodiac Club, and that's a central place in this story. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you came up with the idea and how you picture that club to look?
Oh my God. Oh, I think it's the coolest place in the world that never existed. It's got like this huge dance floor and like sweeping ceilings and like a giant bandstand for the band. Bars in the corner. There's like no tables or chairs because no one goes there to sit. And like the sickest songs all night long. I didn't base it off a real place, but I did name it after the Zodiac Killer, which is not an Easter egg people have picked up on. But like I like it as an Easter egg. I think it's very good. So shortly after I started writing this book, I started dancing, like swing dancing, like Louise does, kind of. And like when I was like really like getting into the edits, I sat down and like thought of the place. Like I'd like to go dancing, and then I came up with the Zodiac. So really, it is my dream dance club.
Okay. And you definitely show how important that is to all of the characters, how they love the Zodiac.
Yeah.
And how no other club compared to it after they went there.
Yeah. And like trying to like even think of another club after the Zodiac was a little disappointing, because like I feel like that's like the mecca for like dancers in 1920, and then it's like, where else can you go? Nowhere that's as cool as the Zodiac.
Too bad we don't have those kind of clubs now.
Yeah,
where
right?
people can really dance. Not.
We made a mistake moving away from that.
Yeah. The world changed in a great moment. Slowly.
Yeah. Even like thinking of like the talent like from back then, like Josephine Baker and like Zora Neale Hurston and like Hazel Scott, who played two pianos at the same time. Like all the like culture and all the like art and the music and the writing that like came out of like the Harlem Renaissance is like another huge reason why I said the book back then. It's because it's like it's so fascinating to me.
Yeah. So another thing I really find fascinating in your story, you kind of show how the love two people share collides up against the bigoted rules of the world, in several ways. Was that something that just came about with the story, or how did you think about putting that in there?
Well, I'd always have to think about like the racism of the era, because if I didn't, if this was like just a book set in the 1920s featuring a black woman with no racism whatsoever, every reader would be like, that's not realistic at all. And it wouldn't be realistic. And also like both the racism and the sexism at the time were really prevalent. So it was just something I had to do and like had to put in. I really had to show like the prejudice of the white characters, had to show like truly how awful they were, and like what Louise thinks of them, because I think that adds something to the story. Like Louise hates men, and like she's working with two white men. It's part of her character arc, I think. Like she has to like work with these two people she just won't like, and how does she manage to do that type thing? Yeah.
The relationship between Louise and Rosemary, you handle that so beautifully. Why did you pick that particular relationship to build?
So I knew that. So first, I knew that I wanted Louise to be like in an established relationship. I just thought that would like add something to the story. It's like, and I also knew that she was gay because that's just how she came to me
Mm-hmm.
as a gay woman. So I just wanted something like she needed a support system, obviously, and like she doesn't really have her family, so she needs her found family. So yeah, I just wanted like Louise to have like the support system there, someone who like she's really close to, someone like she would absolutely die for if necessary, someone she like absolutely loved. And yeah, it's just like a natural progression. And I love them.
And they're very lovable characters too. You definitely, when people read this, they're going to fall in love with your core group of support friends and family for Louise. So, question.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Maeve?
Yes.
What's I'm laughing. So, can you tell everybody why I'm laughing when I say, can we talk about Maeve?
Okay. I know I'm truly laughing because she's just like a minor character. Maeve Walsh is a minor character. She lives with Louise and Rosa Maria in their like house in like the like boarding house they live in. That's a word. Um and she's like kind of is definitely dating actually the officer on Louise's case. And Louise hates her. At one point, no spoilers, but at one point Louise definitely smacks her because well she deserves it.
Yeah. That little confrontation was it was like uh-oh, because when she said what she said, I said, oh boy. You have this interesting group of women who are in this boarding house, so that even though I find it fascinating because you made Maeve as this redheaded, very Irish woman, probably first generation here, but she still had to be in the boarding house with the women of color. Because I think at that time, the Irish really weren't accepted. Is that true?
Yeah. So it's like the same type of thing. Like I know like Ireland had like their troubles, but it was in the 1990s. And I do know that like the Irish were treated like not basically the same way, but like in the same veins as like Black people. Like you'd see signs that say no Irish, no Blacks, no dogs, which is just horrifying, really. But I do ultimately think she chose that place because it's super cheap. It's cheap for white people, I must say. Black people always had to pay like a lot more in rent, even in Harlem with like white landlords. Crazy. But yeah, I thought she was just like an addition I needed just because Lou needed like another foil in the house, and it was just nice to like have someone there that she can like kind of fight with. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, definitely is fascinating group of people and just a wonderful story. So now you have a lot of twists and turns. Things change constantly. So I'm always fascinated with writers who are writing mysteries, especially mysteries where you never know. Do you think you know, and then things change up? Are you someone who plots things out? Do you have this giant board where you've plotted things out and there's strings between the cards and you got this map? Or are you, I sit down and it just kind of comes to you?
Okay, so I'm a board person now. I have two boards, one with like clues and suspects, and then I have another one with like act one, act 2, act 3. But when I read this novel, is actually a National Novel Writing Month novel. So I read it in November of 2016. And I just kind of wrote it. And then at the end of the month, it was done. But the thing is that when you write a novel in a month, it's not good. So I did have to spend like the next 3 years editing it. It was fine. It's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. But yeah, so a lot of the things from like that first draft to this book has now like obviously changed because that's what things are going to do. It's going to like grow. It's like a living, breathing thing. But like now I do plan. Like I don't plan a lot, but like try to get like the basics out. I always have to know who like the killer is and like why the killer has killed the person who died. I have to know like who the main character is. I have to know like the steps along the way and like the major things. But other than that, I kind of just let the writing take me. But also, did you guess who the killer was before the ending?
No.
Oh, wow.
No, and then it kind of, because there was just too many things going on. There were a lot of dangers. And so, and towards the end, I was like, oh no. And then,
Yeah.
Nah, you got me.
Yeah, I always have to. I do have to say that it's always fun, like seeing like who people think is a killer, and then like them being like, "Oh, I was wrong," or "Oh, I was right," or "Oh."
Yeah, for people reading, definitely recommend picking up Dead Girls. It besides a good mystery, which we all love, you're going to be introduced to a world you probably didn't know about and characters you're going to care about, and that's what's so great about this book. So the next question, we've kind of fallen in love with Louise Lloyd, and I mean, she ends up, the world is kind of okay, but it can't stay that way forever. Are we going to see more from Louise?
We are going to see more from Louise. There is a Lou 2 coming out in spring, I think, next year.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I really, really love it. And I just got to pick the cover, and it's amazing.
Great.
Yeah.
So now, and also, I think it's encouraging. Like you said, you created this book out of in November, where all writers go into their writing cave, and the goal is to finish something in November and write every day. And you finished this book. But first of all, real quickly, how did you keep up the pace and keep writing every day to finish the book in November?
Oh, in that November? Okay, so I was in like my senior year of university. So like it meant that I was getting up at like 4 a.m. I was like writing for an hour, then I was going to school, then I was doing my schoolwork, then coming home and doing my homework, and then like writing for another hour before I went to bed. So no sleep is how I did it.
Okay.
Oh God. And then like there's like one Saturday I had off, so I just wrote like 10,000 words.
Wow.
But yeah, I try not to do that anymore because I don't like carpal tunnel and I like using my hands.
Okay. And then you spent 3 years working on that.
Yeah. I was like working on it, and then I was like working on other projects intermittently, but like this is the project I always came back to because I really loved it. And yeah. And now we're here.
Yeah. And now you got me bugging you for the next book. Okay. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I really love it. Like I think it's high key better, I think, than Dead Girls, and I'm so excited for it.
So, folks, you need to go out. You need to get Dead Girls by Nekesa Afia, and you can find Nekesa at www.nekesaafia, her name.com. Go there, and you can go there and keep track. Make sure she gets that other book out to us. But you can stay in touch with her there, and all her links to all her social media things are right there. So just go to her page and you have it all. I listened to the audiobook version and Shayna Small was the narrator. I got it from Libra.fm, and it was a fantastic audiobook. It kept you engaged. Sometimes you can read some audiobooks, and depending upon the narrator, you can drift off. You couldn't do that here. You just kept, I'll just listen to one more chapter. Okay, I know I need to go to work, but I'm going to listen to one more chapter. Then I'm going to sleep. So.
And like Shayna's voice is so captivating. I fell in love with her voice right away. I got to pick my audiobook narrator, which is very exciting for me. And like I fell in love with her voice right away. And I'm so honored she got to like bring life to Louise. She's like perfect.
Yes, she did a fantastic job. Again, folks, Dead Girls is also available on Audible. So you can definitely, if you're an audiobook fan, this is where you should spend your credit for this month. If you're a person who loves paper books or ebooks, you can get Dead Girls everywhere where you can buy books. Nekesa, thank you. Thank you so much. This has been an honor. Everyone, if you want to, though, don't worry, I have links for everything, for the books and everything. Just go to ifoundthisgreatbook.com/135. And that's the page. You can get everything for this episode. Nekesa, thank you. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Everyone, stay safe and have a great reading day.